our first speaker.
Hold everything. Stop.
Damn.
Hey, look at all the pretty people.
Great.
All
What
right.
is it now?
We can't get started yet. We have to do that thing I told you about.
Whoa.
I'm good. I'm good. Remember
What
that
thing?
song? We got to start out in the morning with the
Dan.
creation fight song.
No.
Huh? I
Dan,
think
we're not going to do the creation
I think
fight
these
song.
guys want to hear us do the creation fight song, right?
No, no, don't encourage him. Do not encourage.
Huh?
Dan,
All right, come on.
okay, I'll let you do the creation fight song.
All
okay?
right.
All right,
Cool.
You really
okay,
want
well,
to do the creation fight song?
I really do. That's good.
Well,
okay.
let me check the
Well, I
time
can't
here.
do it by myself,
Okay,
though.
hurry up.
I need Paul Jewell. Come on down.
Yo.
That's me. Woo! Yeah. All right. Woo! Yeah. All right. Woo! Yeah. Are we ready? Do we know how to do this?
I think so.
Are
I
we
think
good?
I remember. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Go creation army, go all the way. Go creation army and win the fight today. Evolution may be big, and the scoffers may seem strong, but we're the true believers and we've come to prove them wrong.
Go creation army, go all the way. Go creation army and win the fight today.
Evolution may seem smart, but we'll cut them down to size because they believe in lies. Ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah?
introduce yourself.
No way.
Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Dan.
Yeah.
That ain't no lie.
Yeah.
And I'll be a creationist
Yeah.
till the day I die.
Oh, yeah. Nothing. That's what evolution means to me. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, yeah.
Who rocks the house? Jehovah Jireh rocks the house. And when he rocks the house, he rocks it all the way down. Hey, you scoffers.
Hey, you scoffers.
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do?
I said, hey, you scoffers.
Hey, you
We're
scoffers.
gonna rock on you.
We're gonna rock on you.
Go, Father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter. Woo. Yeah, all right. Woo.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you,
Rock.
Dan, I think. The creation fight song. Wow, very interesting. Our first speaker this morning, I hope you got that on videotape. I hope that never happens again, by the way. So, our first speaker this morning is Louis DeGrave. He wants to be introduced just as he is. He is a layman that got fired up about wanting to do something for God and use creation to do it. And he's been at many of my dad's meetings out in Colorado and really helps my dad out a lot. And we wanted him to come and tell you his testimony and share with you his story and present to you a challenge that you need to get busy too. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Louis DeGrave. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Timer will be up on the back wall.
I need your help. Me, a layman with an accent, asking for help from you. Over 100 people came over 100 miles. Over 10 people came over 1,000 miles. I'll tell you, there was one person that came 10,000 miles, me. But that is not the point. Focus on the family. What do they say? The percentage of teens today who identify themselves as evangelical Christians has declined to just what? 4%. 4%. Over here we have another newsletter. What does that one say? England, which gave America the first English Bible, could become a Muslim country in less than 10 years. If students had a sound biblical background, including from home, church, I will hit that hard, and school, do you suppose the outcome would have been different? Can we continue to be pew warmers? This is what I'm talking about. Can we continue to be pew warmers? This one and another one I will refer to many times. Only 4 years ago, my wife and I attended a conference like this one called Stealing of the Mind, and we heard Dr. Hovind for the first time in beautiful Colorado. And then he started shooting those airplanes over the mountain. No, I'm not. At the end of the statement, he said, "Do something for the Lord." These are the two things I will be talking about. Can we continue to be pew warmers? Do something for the Lord. That's it. From passive to active. Just 3 years ago, my wife and I assisted Dr. Hovind at the book table. There are many book tables over here. You could have been helping there. After we attended that one, we attended a different kind of seminar. And there we picked up this book, Let My Children Go, and its videotape. What does it have to state? 75% of the children raised in a home who attend a public school will reject the Christian faith by their first year of college. I'm asking you again, can we continue to be pew warmers? Keep in mind, last night you heard those speakers. You will hear some more today. There is the information. What are you going to do with it? Continue to be pew warmers? Continue to be pew warmers? Or do something for the Lord? This is what it is all about. Our church, like many other churches, has a vacation Bible school. In that vacation Bible school, this booklet was handed out. It says, hooray, I can continue to sit in the pew. The church is taking care of the dinosaurs. What a disappointment. What did it state on page 2 of this booklet? Handed out in my Baptist church. Dinosaurs lived over 100 million years ago. Just imagine that you are picking that up over here as a prize for the kids because they brought a friend, because they memorized the verse. Earliest evidence of man shows we've only been here 1.5 million years ago. This got me fired up. I was livid. From passive to active. In 2003, only 2 years ago, I approached the adult teacher, the high school teacher. I said, is there any way I can talk to the kids? He consented. And I gave my first presentation. It turned out to be 13 overheads. I will talk about that in our workshop later on how you can get going. Again, Pensacola asked me to be in charge of a book table with my wife, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. This is something that you can do. In 2004, last year, this month was the first time that I gave a PowerPoint presentation. In February of last month, I did not know how to spell PowerPoint. Thank you. Then, after we had some minor problem with the weather here last year, I started giving PowerPoint presentation in our church. Our church was highly supportive. 20 of these we put all over the church. This is what you see in the back. This is what I had. I also had a small one. Doesn't make any difference. If you do it, go first class. Look, what is this? Is this first class or not? Yeah. Over here, you can see when I did it. 13 PowerPoint presentation, December 5th last year, February 27th. The last PowerPoint presentation on the next slide, Creation to Evolution. This one I gave in April. I have a CD you're welcome to borrow it. These are the topics I discussed and presented. I presented it to the high schoolers. I presented it to the middle schoolers. I presented it to the adults. All the same. When I asked the question, in my Baptist church, to the kids, high school kids, middle schoolers, adults, how old is the earth? You know the answer. You got it. How long ago did dinos live? You got the answer. These were the answers that I got from my Baptist church. When you do this, what do you expect? But that lasted 1 week. What did I hear the next week after I was talking? About 6,000 years ago. About 6,000 years ago. Yes! My wife and I attend as many things as we can. This particular one was a traveling dinosaur world tour for 2 months. We visited it. During the time that we were there were more kids, parents, teachers that were being brainwashed during the time that we were there than are here right now. Unfortunately, I might have been guilty. As you can hear, I have an accent. When we got married, we had kids. I loved Dr. Seuss. I read the story to the kids. I do not remember this one. There's a date of 1999. I do not know if there's a later version. But from young on up, we adults, we Christians might have brainwashed our own kids. Are we going to continue to sit to warm the pew? What did Dr. Kent Hovind state? Do something for the Lord. Do something. Is this the first time? Is this the last time? You can find something like this everywhere. In the bookstore, in the museum, in the zoo. Millions of years ago. That is nothing new. Young people are constantly bombarded with false information regarding evolution. What are you going to do? Continue to be pew warmers? Or follow Dr. Kent Hovind's advice and do something for the Lord? You pick. What are you going to do? Evolution doctrine is rampant where? Anybody? Anybody? Discovery Channel. It is loaded just about every week. The newspaper. It is loaded just about every week. Museums. Zoos. Popular magazines. National Geographic. When you attend the workshop, I'll show you what I did. And what other one? Which one did I leave out? Once again, can we continue to be pew warmers? Or do something? No, that something is up to you. My wife and I got mad, and we did something. In a workshop, I will try to tell you how to do it. Charlie Darwin, we're all acquainted with him. Charlie Darwin, one of many to take away the Creator. We know that. He proposed indirectly that a croc evolved from a rock. Now, for those that are here probably have seen Dr. Kent Hovind's videos. So there, to make you happy, this is what we got. This guy I was not too familiar with. I have heard his name, but I did not know what he did until I met my brother. Søren Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher. Søren's influence has absolutely been devastating. Truth is not something objective. Where does it come from? In the bottom. 7 men who ruled the world from their grave. That is where it came from. Truth. This is according to Kierkegaard. Later on, we go to the truth according to the Bible. Truth is what happens to you. You make truth. Baloney. Not what your parents taught you. There are some groups that say, don't listen to your parents, listen. Okay, forget it. Now is the word. Do it now. Enjoy it now. Feel it now. Again, 7 men who ruled the world. But we know better. Where do we find truth? God is truth. Jesus Christ is truth. The Holy Spirit is truth. And the Bible is truth. We know that. Let's act on it. Tragically, this is continued on Kierkegaard. Almost every institution of higher learning in America has Kierkegaard's view. Almost any. Not one school. Not one school, I repeat. Such as Princeton, Yale, Harvard, and others have recovered a conservative position. Where do we go? Debate. Last night, Dr. Hovind mentioned about one of them. Can I debate the duo of Hugh Ross and John Ankerberg? No. Can I debate in a school in California of 100 rowdy students? The answer is no. However, can I remain quiet? Can you? That is where you come into the picture. The information you got yesterday. The information you will get today and tomorrow. What are you going to do with that information? Are you going to continue to warm the seats? Or like Dr. Hovind said, do something for the Lord. What most of us could do. Become what? Knowledgeable about the creation evolution material. You are fortunate. You are hearing here one of the top speakers outside. You have all kinds of information. Please have a lot of money spare in your checking account. Please take everything home with you. I could not do that. I picked one at a time. Study to show thyself approved unto God. Not by sitting in the pew, keeping the pew warm. Nice, well done. Do something. Do something. A workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing word of the truth. But Louis, I am overwhelmed already. I spent 10 hours driving. I'm swamped. Where do we get the time? I am overloaded already. The average American watches TV 1,500 hours a day of TV a year. Enough to read the Bible 22 times. 1,500 hours of TV is 4 or 5 hours a day. How about reading the Bible once or twice? Really looking outside at all those recommended book tables, and there's that one book by Dennis Peterson. I strongly recommend it. It's a beautiful book. I love it. The pictures are dynamite. Do I get anything for that, Dennis? Put the remote down. Put the remote down. Do something for the Lord. That is Dr. Hovind. That is how I got started. That is how I want you to get started. I'm sorry, I'm missing the sides a little bit. Do we have anybody on top? I can't see nothing. What could most of us do? Most of us attend a church. Teach a creation evolution class. Yesterday I spoke to somebody at Dal, and he takes those videos that he bought from Dr. Hovind and shows them somewhere. That is, I think, a phenomenal step. I tried to do that in my church with my group. I gave it to the leader. He said, Louis, they are not going to go for it. So I did the next step. I prepared overheads and gave it to the kids. And where's my source? Right here. I do not know what Dr. Hovind is, but, oh, I'm sorry. I'm really messing up. Open door for someone to teach a class. I can't teach, but I know somebody who can. Be involved in a local creation club. To be truthful, I belong to a local creation club, the Rocky Mountain Creation Fellowship. They met last night. I missed it. Purchase handouts. You can check with the office. Just before I gave my last presentation in April, I ordered 75 Big Daddies to give them to the kids. They love them. Provide refreshments. You'll be surprised. I gave the presentation, and just a few weeks ago, I talked to one of the ladies that attended the students that attended the class. And I asked her, what do you like best? The snacks. There went my ego. Be prepared. They will come with newspaper articles. I didn't read it. I don't read the newspaper. Over here, I will go over it when you attend the workshop. Overhead PowerPoint, video, music, books, handouts, dynamite. I will talk about it all. Poster, snacks, candy. Candy, I will even use right now. Come on. Excellent resources. Doctor, DVDs, videos, books, PowerPoint slides from. And they are here for the taking. Dr. Kent Hovind, Dr. Carl Bach. Between those two, that takes care of 80% of my presentation slides that I've used. The rest is my own. And pretty soon, I will give you what I have done. Creation Evolution. This is from another one, Alpha Omega Institute, Dr. Dan Corral, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. This is his slide. In the bottom, you can see 4 middle schoolers, 4 high schoolers. What if it is for one and for the other? Take one out, put the other one in. What if it is for adults? Delete the whole bottom part. Delete all of those. This is a presentation that I put in every one of my presentations. I gave 13 presentations. How often do I have this in the beginning? Or close to the beginning? Why close to the beginning? Because I review. So that's why it is not the number 1. It is maybe number 10, 15, because it comes at the new session. There are 3 reasons it is important to learn about creation, evolution topic. To give you knowledge. To give you the ability. But foremost, to do what? To strengthen your faith in the Word of God. And what is one way how we cannot do it? By keeping the pews warm. Do something. This one is one of my next presentations. God is truth. Jesus Christ is truth. The Holy Spirit is truth. And the Bible is truth. Then the next one, I have problems with. And if somebody has it right, guess what? They got a candy thrown at them. Is there anything God cannot do? Yes, God cannot lie. That is worth a candy. That is worth their attention. Are dinosaurs mentioned in the Bible? What is the standard answer? Even from the Bible Baptist Church, what is the standard answer? You got it. Behold thou behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass like an ox. Dinosaurs lived millions and billions of years ago, whatever. I like to put it in today's word. There's another one. What is a big event? In 1492, only 500 years ago, I brought them together. This is not that long ago, guys. There goes the candy, because most people know it. I think even over here. Columbus discovered America. There you are. This is not the big point. But 200 years before Columbus was another famous explorer. Columbus went west. The other guy went east. What is his name? There goes another candy. With the adults, I usually lose a candy. With the kids, I don't. Marco Polo. What did he do? This picture you see a few times and something like it. Marco Polo went from Italy, because he was in Italy as well as Columbus. Then he went to China when he was 6 years old with his uncle. He spent 17 years over there. This picture, most of you have seen this before. Marco Polo lived in China for 17 years, around 1300 AD, and reported that the emperor raised dragons to pull his chariot in a parade. That is only 700 years ago. Only 700 years ago. The next one is another one from Dr. Kent Hovind's collection. In 1611, only 400 years ago, the emperor appointed the post of royal dragon feeder. How come royal dragon feeder? Because he had dragons to feed. This place is only a block from my church. No big deal. You've seen it all. The Chinese zodiac. I'll blow them up. The tiger, the sheep, the snake, the rat. Are they alive today? Keep in mind, this presentation is for the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, and not meant for you. But it is meant for you, for what you can do. For the other 96%. 4% are Christian kids, are believe in Christ. What about the other 96? Okay. What about these 4? They're alive today. They were alive when this Chinese zodiac was made, 4,700 years ago, give or take a couple days. The rabbit, the ox, the monkey, the rat, the horse, alive today. What about 4,700 years ago when the zodiac was made? Alive then. What about the next 3? The dog, the rooster, the pig, alive today. What about 4,700 years ago? I missed one. Based on the 11 being alive, the dragon was alive too. We'll pursue this a little bit more. Dr. Kent Hovind. Man killed off most of the dinosaurs for meat because they were managed to be a hero. We go back to this map. I told you we were going to go back. You will see 3 circles, or maybe you want to call it something else. This circle number 1. A very important island, Mauritius. About 800 square miles, that's all. And the blue, 2 islands, a total of about 100,000, the same size as Colorado, a little bit bigger than Colorado, than Florida. New Zealand, 2 islands. And the big one. This is where I was born and raised. Some people came 100 miles, some people came 1,000 miles. I came 10,000. I do not know, I'm just guessing. I will go back to these 3 circles. The dodo bird. Around 1500, the Portuguese went to Indonesia. And that was an island where they stocked up on drink food and water. And there was a dumb bird. Apparently the word dumb in Portuguese, maybe somebody can help me, is dodo. About 50 pounds and couldn't fly. I mean, he was easy target. After that, my ancestors, the Dutch, came. What the Portuguese did not take care of, the Dutch did. And what the Dutch didn't take care of, they brought dogs and pigs. And they ate them. Finally, toward the end of the 17th century, the dodo bird became extinct. Does that sound familiar? Extinct? Let's go to the next one. I went to New Zealand, and I went to a park, and over there was a huge skeleton of metal or something like that. I said, what is that? Something 12 feet tall, and there was a plaque on the bottom. This moa bird supposed to weigh 600 pounds. This one was known by the Maoris. Maybe some of the whites. But toward the end of the 17th century, it became extinct. Now, if we had an animal conservation program going on in the beginning of the 16th century, could the dodo bird still be alive? Could the moa bird be still alive? And could we have more dinos still alive? Huh? Just a thought. Do we see animals of this description today? My wife and I flew to Glasgow, rented a car, and went to Loch Ness. Loch Ness is a spectacular view, and the south end is a beautiful restaurant. My wife and I had a spot of tea and coffee, and we spent an hour there. Unfortunately, Nessie did not cooperate. We did not see him. But we enjoyed the trip. Nessie, we do not really know how he looks like, but we suspect it is a plesiosaurus, looks like this one. We're not 100% sure, just 99.999. However, my wife and I were disappointed. We spent an hour at Loch Ness, and we did not see Nessie. This guy spent 50 years or 100,000 hours around Loch Ness, and he only saw him 18 times. So to be truthful, I don't feel that bad. Back to Indonesia. Indonesia was in the news on December 26th, 2004. Does anybody remember? You had the minor disturbance here in September. They had one too. The tsunami. You've heard about Banda Aceh. The northern part over here of Sumatra, which is about 4 times the size of Florida, 3 times the size of Colorado, about 300,000 square miles. That is the size of the island. The north part is where my grandfather died a long time ago, before I was born, and is buried in Aceh. Over here, I talk about this in another presentation about Mount St. Helens, but this is appropriate also. Over there we have another huge volcanic explosion, the Krakatau, 1883. When it exploded, the ocean rose 120 feet. Almost 100,000 people drowned. And now the last one. This one gets me close to what I really want to talk about. Timbora, the mountain. Over here is where I was born, Java. Over here, Bali, Lombok, Sumbawa. That is where we have Timbora. Timbora exploded in 1815. 80 cubic meters of volcanic ash. Here is an example. Mount St. Helens exploded a few years ago. Krakatau, Timbora. Now we go to my real reason why I'm showing Timbora. Back to Java. Bali, Lombok, Sumbawa. Then we have a bunch of small islands, Flores. Which island did I miss? Which island is right there? What do we have there? What do we have there? That deserves a candy, does it not? Okay. There's my buddy. If you read internet, according to the evolution, according to the article, they evolved 150 million years ago from a dragon. I think we know better than that. 6,000 years ago, God created them, Adam, named them, Noah fed them. We have several. Back to Indonesia. We have some more animals there. I told you about Sumatra. Borneo about the same size, 4 times Florida, 3 times Colorado. There's another animal. Anybody? The name of this one? In America, you call it the orangutan. There we go. In Bahasa Indonesia, you call it orang utan. Orang is person. Many people. Banyak orang. White people. Orang Belanda. Orang is person. Utan is forest. What's this? The forest man. Back to the map. Are you with me? I was raised in Java. I lived in this city of Semarang over here, if you can see it. Do you see the circle? Less than 50 miles from where I spent 13 years of my life. A French Dutchman by the name of, there's another candy, Eugene Dubois. What did he do? He discovered in 1893 the Java man. Fossils found skull-capped leg bones. Legs now recognized as humans. How Java man is portrayed in children's books. Can we continue to be pure warmers? Or do we need to do something? Over here, I like to show you the evolution. Notice the forehead. Notice the dark hair still. Over here, the forehead and gray hair. And this is white hair. I mean, this is how we evolved. But the Java man was proven to be a fraud. That left the orangutan, the orang-utan, and me. I know who my great-great-great-great-grandfather is, Adam. I also happen to know who the orang-utan's great-great-grandfather is, an ape. This is a nice translation. Dr. Hovind used it yesterday. That is always a fun one with the kids. Small, bigger, bigger. It is always fun. It is a hit. Use it. Dr. Hovind talked about it extensively. I don't have to. According to Dr. Werner Gitt, he has an accent. He's from Germany. What does a rock, a computer, and man have in common? All three made out of matter. Goodbye, rock. There we go. That leaves the computer and man. The computers are made out of matter, and so are you and I. Will we function? What do we need? We need energy. Over here is the energy for the computer. Electricity. And for me, Chinese food. The computer's brand new. You plug it in. What do you see? A blank screen. The same thing. What does it need? It needs a computer programmer. It needs information. And so do you and I. That information comes from God. If creation is true, that is Dr. Ken Hovind, there is a creator. If evolution is true, there is no creator. This is usually towards the end. Everyone has something like this, but there are more things that I have. If creation is true, there are rules, right and wrong. If evolution is true, there are no rules. No commandments, no law. If creation is true, there is a purpose to life. If evolution is true, there is no purpose to life. If creation is true, man is a fallen creature in need of a savior. There we go. We are in need of a savior. If evolution is true, there is no purpose to life. Man is evolving with no need of a savior. Heaven is a real place. Hell is a real place. Eternity is a long, long time. Jesus is the answer. This one or the next one and the next one will be on every one of my ending presentations. If you have never accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, Dr. Hovind uses something similar, different. As you personally say, please talk to one of us, as nothing is more important. Once again, can we continue to be pew warmers, or should we follow Dr. Hovind's advice? Do something for the Lord. If you have made this most important decision in the world, find a way to have your own ministry. What am I saying? Do. What does the Bible state? The Bible states a little bit differently. Go into the world and preach the good news to all creation. How do we say that? Do something for the Lord. The harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray the Lord of the harvest to send out what? Laborers into the harvest. Can we continue to be pew warmers? Or can we follow Dr. Kent Hovind's advice? Do something for the Lord. We don't retreat, but we invade. And what? Reclaim the culture. How can we invade the culture? By becoming involved in the church. But you cannot isolate or insulate yourself in the church. By becoming involved, our pastor, our senior pastor, just was elected to be president of the Rotary Club. Is that secular? I used to be a Rotarian. A service organization, that's Rotary. Grassroots politics. School committee, neighborhood and community boards. I need your help. Have you seen this slide before? I need you. Each one of you. If not you, who? If not now, when? I need you now.
Awesome. That's good. Okay, I guess we're about ready to start. So everybody find your beautiful seats right there. I take my seat with me wherever I go. But is everybody in the spot they're going to be? Yeah? Okay, good. Good crowd interaction. I can feel the energy. Okay. Well, it's going to be a long day, a lot of stuff to do, so we thought we'd do something that would be a little peppier. Okay? And this will be fun. I'm going to divide up. I'm going to segregate the congregation here. First, it's going to be everybody over here on this side, this whole section and all this. See, you guys are like, you know, you make me feel so warm and toasty. So that's going to be your word. Your word's going to be warm. Okay? Can you guys say warm? Warm. Okay, so every time I take this stick, this is my wonderful pointing stick. When I point this stick at you, you're going to say warm. Feel the energy. That was so warm and beautiful. Ready? Warm. That's good. That's good. And they're almost not paying attention. Did you? Yeah. Okay, that's good. All right. Get used to that. Okay. But now over here, I'm going to take just this middle section right here. Okay. Now you guys are rock solid, like ice. It's like cold. The word cold comes to mind. So your word's going to be cold. So every time I point at you with this, you're going to say cold. Awesome. And so it's going to be like cold. Right, almost like, but cold. Right. So it's a little different. Okay, that's good. So we got that. Now over here, you guys are really awesome. All right, this is the really good-looking people over here. Don't tell the rest of them. So your word's going to be hot. All right, so when I point this at you, you're going to say hot. Hot, that's good. Okay, and so if I point the stick, they're going to say hot. That's right. Okay, good. Okay, so you guys ready for this? You think you can handle it? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Now try to stay awake. Here we go. can't turn this thing off. Does that feel pretty good so far? You don't get many opportunities to yell in church. And so I just want to give you this chance. And so we'll try it some more because somebody doesn't know their cue. Okay.
I
already did that trick on them and you guys fell for it.
Dan, hey, what are you doing?
Oh, look, it's a picnic basket. That's okay. I'm just leading everybody in something I like to call the all-temperature cheer. Huh?
What?
See, I just came out here and I was leading the whole fan club. And we were going to do a really cool cheer and have a good time and get energized before lunch, you know? Because after lunch, everybody wants to go right to sleep.
What fan club?
The fan club, the Kent Hovind fan club. Right?
Dan, I hate to burst your bubble, but this is not a Kent Hovind fan club.
No, it is. This is the fan club, and they've elected me their president.
Really?
Yeah.
I
mean, aren't we all here to worship Kent Hovind this weekend?
Oh, no, see, Dan, I don't think it's all about that. I think we're here to worship our Creator.
But I got this cool button. It's like, look, this is not Dr. Hovind. This is just a picture of him.
Oh.
Huh? Yeah, so I got all these buttons out there for the fan club. You know, we're all members. That's like the membership button. It's all going to be good.
I'm sorry, Dan. I can't. This isn't a Kent Hovind fan club, man. This is a Creator fan club. That's not what boot camp is about. Boot camp is all about worshiping the Creator and spreading the creation message and tying with it the gospel. How to get saved. That's what this is about. What is that thing anyway?
This is an ugly stick.
Oh, you must.
Yeah.
Did you beat yourself with it or something?
No, but it likes you. Look at that. Okay.
Man.
Well, okay,
Well, I hate
so
to
you
burst
guys
your
are here
bubble.
for the Creator instead of Kent Hovind? Okay.
Sorry.
All right,
man.
well then, hopefully I can return these buttons.
Good luck with that. Thanks, Dan. Give him a hand, guys. Dan. Here to speak to us is Dr. Carl Ball. Needs no introduction. Dr. Ball, please come share with us.
Thank you,
Thank
Eric.
you, Dr. Ball. Thank you for
God
being
bless
here.
you. So good to be here. Well, I know we're here to worship the Creator, no doubt about it. But we can appreciate the messenger. Dr. Kent Hovind, would you stand? I want you to know we love you. You're one of our genuine heroes. We don't worship you, but we love you. Now, every person who bears the responsibility of giving the truth attracts, like a magnet, a few people who oppose his position. That's true of all of us, right? I think every once in a while a fellow needs a little encouragement. Let's give him a standing ovation of appreciation. Yes. Okay. You're batting 1,000. You want to come up and talk now? He can handle it, absolutely. He picked me up at midnight last night at the airport, and I don't know when he ever sleeps. I don't know when I sleep. That's fine. I'm going to sleep right now. Hopefully, you won't go to sleep. It's my turn to sleep. I don't know how long I have. Okay, whatever you indicate. I've got 90 PowerPoint programs here, so we'll just keep going. Now, I'm going to ask you to, let's make sure this works. Would you flip it over so I can see if, yes. Now, you think it's fun in here. I spent about 3 minutes by invitation over with the kids. They are live wires. They're getting the truth in a way that they will never forget. So I commend the entire staff. Okay, yes. I've been assigned by Marlissa the subject of speaking on hyperbaric canopy, hyperbaric oxygen that heals. And that will be the general topic, but I want you to know that I have no medical background, even though I have paid a lot of medical bills. So what I will be doing is giving you anecdotal evidence and technical evidence that the creation model works. You need to consider going by the table on this side for Creation Evidence Museum. Everything that I'll say to you this morning and part of what I'll say to you this evening is in video format, 3D illustrated in many sessions, and there's a book, Why Do Men Believe Evolution Against All Odds? 10 chapters, over 200 technical references showing that evolution is a bucket without a bottom. It can't hold water. And many academicians admit that that's the case. My purpose in this session is to show you that creation does work, that it's academically viable, that it is biblically consistent, and I want you to know that you have not been deceived by your Creator. The creation model requires concentration from a vantage point. We have been programmed, as Dr. Quazzo indicated, and as all our speakers are indicating, we've been programmed by an entire generation to believe, to accept the theory of evolution, and it is a faith-based theory, but the other speakers are addressing that. I want to show you that the creation model as a model does work. And I want to show you that it depends on the perspective for you to accept this. Our children are precious to all of us, and these kids do not always hear what we're saying. How many have recognized that the kids, we're not always getting through? They don't always get what we're saying. They don't quite get it right. And we have a generation that hasn't quite gotten it right. I want to bring to your attention the fact that these kids, you got to love. I received an email recently from the daughter of the late Attorney General of the United States in the Reagan administration, Penny Lorenzen, whose husband is one of my colleagues, Dr. Lee Lorenzen. He's doing research that will affect our generation in energized water and energized products, etc. Penny sent me this information, and I just have to pass it on to you. The following excerpts are actual answers given on history tests in Sunday school. I'm going to see if the pointer works. It doesn't, so you'll have to listen to my dialogue. These are actual answers given on history tests and in Sunday school quizzes by children between 5th and 6th grade ages in Ohio. If we were to ask the same questions in Texas, Oklahoma, New Jersey, New York, Florida, we would get something like the same answers. Now, we want to see if they get it right. Okay. First of all, they were asked about ancient Egypt. And one student wrote, "Ancient Egypt was old. It was inhabited by gypsies and mummies who all rode in hydraulics. They lived in the Sahara Desert. The climate of the Sahara is such that all the inhabitants have to live elsewhere." Well, made a good stab at it, but didn't quite get it right. And we have academicians who are very sincere in their approach to life origins, but don't quite get it right. Well, let's see if the kids get it right here. Moses led the Hebrew slaves to the Red Sea, where they made unleavened bread, which is bread made without any ingredients. Moses went up on Mount Sinai. Now, didn't quite get it right. I want to emphasize to you leaders that we have it perfectly clear in our minds, but we don't always get through to the recipients and to these kids. He went up on Mount Sinai to get the 10 commandos. He died before he ever reached Canada, but the commandos made it. Well, that kid didn't quite get it right. And here's one of my favorites. Solomon had 300 wives and 700 porcupines. He was an actual hysterical figure. Now, I want you to notice as these kids give these reports, they don't get the facts right, but they're able to spell complicated words, meaning they're listening, but they have a preconceived disposition, and it doesn't quite get through. We are trying to communicate with a generation that knows not Joseph, nor Joseph's God, is raised on rock music and humanism, and we don't always get through. When we get through to anybody, we're thankful, right? And Dr. Hovind, you're getting through to a lot of people. Okay, he was an actual hysterical figure as well as being in the Bible. Sounds like he was sort of busy too. He was quite busy. The Greeks were a highly sculptured people, and without them we wouldn't have history. The Greeks also had myths. Now, a myth is a young female moth. Didn't quite get it right. Oh, you'll like this one. Socrates was, now these are actual answers, written answers. Socrates was a famous old Greek teacher who went around giving people advice. They killed him. Now, for the pastors in this audience, be careful. You get killed for giving advice. He later died from an overdose of wedlock. That'll get you. Which is apparently poisonous. After his death, his career suffered a dramatic decline. I would say that's the case. Now, one or two of you are still rather stoic. You're not getting the idea. I'm not getting through to you. You're not quite getting, those who are not laughing yet are not quite getting it right. You've got to understand that we have to really communicate all the truth to this generation. We have to communicate it vividly. So for the two who haven't laughed yet, enjoy. In the first Olympic Games, Greeks ran races, jumped, hurled biscuits, and threw the java. The games were messier than they show on television today. Okay, one of my favorites. Julius Caesar extinguished himself on the battlefields of Gaul. The Ides of March murdered him. Didn't quite get it right because they thought he was going to be made king. Dying, he gasped out, "Same to you, Brutus." Not et tu, Brute. Same to you, Brutus. Okay. Delegates from the original 13 states formed the Contented Congress. Thomas Jefferson, a virgin, sure hope so. At least the kid knew there was a term, a virgin, and Benjamin Franklin were two singers of the Declaration of Independence. Franklin discovered electricity by rubbing two cats backward. That'll do it. He knew a lot about physics and got scratched in the process. Franklin discovered electricity by rubbing two cats backward and also declared, "A horse divided itself against itself cannot stand." He was right again. He was a naturalist for sure. Franklin died in 1790 and is still dead. Okay, I think this is my favorite of all, and we're almost finished. We'll get down to the topic I was assigned. Abraham Lincoln became America's greatest president. Lincoln's mother died in infancy, and he was born in a log cabin which he built with his own hands. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves by signing the Emasculation Proclamation. I don't know how the kids spell those complicated words, but still got it mixed up a bit. Johann Bach wrote a great many musical compositions and had a large number of children. In between, he practiced on an old spinster, which he kept up in the attic. I think he meant spinster piano. Practiced on an old spinster, which he kept up in the attic. Bach died from 1750 to present. Bach was the most famous composer in the world, and so was Handel. Handel was half German, half Italian, and half English. He was very large. Beethoven wrote music even though he was deaf. He was so deaf that he wrote loud music and became the father of rock and roll. He took long walks in the forest, even when everyone was calling for him. I wish I had Ken Hovind to read these. These are just too much. Beethoven expired in 1827 and later died for this. That'll get you. Well, so much. They didn't quite get it right. We have an entire generation that has not quite gotten it right. 2 nights ago, I listened to a debate after midnight between John Morris, Jonathan Wells, and Michael Roos. After the debate, in which John Morris did a marvelous job, Jonathan Wells did a good job, Michael Roos did a lousy job. And how many heard that debate? Any of you hear that debate? Michael Roos is at the University of Florida, professor of evolutionary history, and would never answer the questions directly as to whether evolution is based in fact. I've had Dr. Hovind on my program on creation of the 21st century a number of times. I'd like for Dr. Quazzo and others to come, and I'd like for our guest to be guest on the program, Creation of the 21st Century. Recently, I had Dr. Mastropialo, who was the scientist, a leading evolutionary scientist, who was the leading kinesiologist, the biologist knowing all the response of the human cardiovascular system, the musculature system, and the response of the metabolism. There was a program some decades ago in which they offered $210,000 for a team that could fly across the British Channel, some 18 plus miles, with human-powered flight. The brilliant kinesiologist who devised the system and his engineers built the craft. He trained the young man to fly with endurance, trained him to fly, trained him to pedal, and to flap the wings of the craft, and flew across the English Channel. Dr. Mastropialo was my guest for a reason. He's become a creationist. I asked him on the program. Of course, I wouldn't have him on the program if he were not a creationist. I asked him on the program, I said, "Are you a creationist?" He said, "Absolutely." And I said, "Was it a shock to you, being one of our generation's leading evolutionary scholars, a shock to you to find that evolution was suspect?" He said to me on the program, and it'll air sometime in the future, so you want to watch Creation of the 21st Century. Dr. Mastropialo said one of the greatest, in fact, the greatest disappointment of my life was to learn as a scientist. I'd been programmed that you cannot have faith in a creator and be a genuine scientist. So I eliminated all reference to the creator, even in my thought process. He said one of the greatest disappointments to me was to find that evolution was based in philosophic supposition and presupposition and had no basis in fact whatsoever. Then he explained, as a world-class biologist, if we're talking about horizontal variation, certainly we all vary horizontally. All species, all kinds, all living systems vary horizontally. How many dogs do you have, dog kinds do you have in Pensacola? Well, how many streets do you have in Pensacola? We vary. And that is a disposition that God put, the Creator, God, and He's the God of the Bible, put within kinds for adaptability and variability. So Dr. Mastropaola then explained, he said, there is not one single shred of evidence, scientific evidence, empirical evidence, supporting evolution of the introduction of new genetic information that would produce any viable life form. All the variation is downward in nature or horizontal at best. And I said, are you a creationist? He said, not only am I a creationist, I'm a recent creationist. That is, I believe the world and the entire universe, he said, were created within the last few thousand years. He said, I'm a biblical creationist and a scientific creationist. He said, in fact, and here's the point I want to make. He said, I have the Life Science Award Challenge. He said, there are 45 leading evolutionary educators and propagandists in our generation. 45. He said, I've challenged every last one of them to appear with me as a scientist before an appellate judge, not a justice of the peace, but an appellate judge who knows the process. And he said, the question is this, I will put up $10,000. My opponent will put up $10,000. I think you're putting up, what, 100,000 or $250,000 now. He said, I'll put up 10,000. He said, my opponent will put up 10,000. He said, this is the question. Whoever wins before the judge is awarded all the money. Question is creation scientific? And is evolution religious? I said, Dr. Mastropaola, how many takers have you had? He said, not one. They know that their tenets are supported by philosophy, by faith, by religion. They know they're not supported factually. And they know that before an appellate judge, there's incredible evidence for intelligent design. Hopefully in a moment I'll get to just a bit of that before my 16 hours and 42 minutes. No, that's 23 minutes and 9 seconds are up. Dr. Hovind, you've offered $250,000. And what's the issue? Prove evolution scientifically. Have you had a single serious taker? Not a single serious taker to $250,000, and the money's put up on deposit. I mean, you can get it. Somebody else, yes, put up the money. It's there and waiting. Not a single taker who can prove that evolution is scientific. But we have an entire generation that hasn't quite gotten it right. This is the theory that they postulate. This is the concept of evolution. We at the Creation Evidence Museum have illustrated it not as a column. Carl Sagan, before dying, admitted that it is not really a column, it's an oval. For the concept is, what's that rat doing running across there? No fair with cell phones. Oh, no, that was the rat running across. Okay. What's that rat doing there? When I first started excavating in Glen Rose and attracted a lot of opposition because I went on television and radio, and now there's 6 million people a week who hear that truth, and I'm very grateful for that, but I still get a lot of opposition because I stated that we had found human footprints and had found cat prints in the same stratum along with dinosaur footprints. And we have demonstrated that. In fact, I just got back from Germany, where 6 of our key artifacts are on display at this very moment. One of them a human handprint, another human finger, found in the very same layer with the dinosaur footprints, a hammer, And then we have the Meister print, which is a human sandal print with a trilobite, Elrathia gingai trilobite in the heel and one in the toe. So the creation model is demonstrated to be factual if people will listen to the information. Here we have the model of evolution. When I first began to talk about this at Glen Rose, they said it's impossible for a mammal to have been back in the Cretaceous period. But now they have found their own mammals, and they call this mammal, this is little Morgie, Morganocodon elroyi, and they call this little mammal, let's go back and let's watch that mammal run. Where's that sound you gave a moment ago from the cell phone, that little mammal? Now, but they say this is man's oldest grandmother. But I want you to notice that if evolution is true, we have some real problems. And the red doesn't come out, so let's just get to the next concept. According to evolution, we began with a Big Bang some 16 or so billion years ago. Debris, trash from that Big Bang settled in the arm of Orion of the Milky Way galaxy and throughout the universe, ultimately producing our Earth and our solar system. And from that, living systems sprang. And if there's enough mass in the universe, ultimately all of these 225 billion galaxies, each comprised of over 500 million stars, ultimately will collapse back upon themselves. We began with a Big Bang. If evolution is true, then we will end in the Big Crunch, a fiery explosion. Or if there's not enough mass, but if instead all these systems extend out and out and out, ultimately they're going to get so far apart that you can't get enough informational exchange, so they're going to die in the Big Freeze. Or if it's balanced fairly well, due to the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, we're losing usable information and energy, so it's going to die in the Big Fizzle. It began with the Big Bang, will end either with the Big Crunch, the Big Freeze, or the Big Fizzle. The psyche, the basic philosophic mindset of evolutionary theory is that nobody's going anywhere. Hopelessness is written into the entire concept. In fact, leading evolutionists that I've debated, or who have been debated by other creationists, get very irritated when we insist on absolute truth. Well, I have found absolute truth in a written form. It's called the Bible. I've found absolute truth in the personal form. His name is Jesus Christ. But that's another subject and another topic altogether. I don't know if these will come out clearly. I hope so. In every one of these eras, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic eras, periods, epochs, and events, in every one of them, we find evidence of human fossils and human artifacts, meaning that the geologic column is not essentially the history of the development of living forms, but the geologic column is all sedimentary deposit that was laid down in a worldwide flood. And tonight in the lecture, I want to show you tangible evidence worldwide for that flood. The creation model, and I have less than 18 minutes to give this to you. Are you still awake? I want to show you that creation works, the creation model works. It does not begin with a model or with a universe. It begins with a creator. Cause and effect. In a moment, I'll try to give you some figures. Let's just go right to the heart and soul of this, and then I want to talk about your brain in the next few minutes. I want to show you that you're more awesome than you promised that girl you were when you courted her. Or she's more awesome than you have realized heretofore. In the creation model, the basic tenets are as follows. I'll have to verbally describe this because my pointer is not strong enough to overcome the screen angle. Prior to the flood, the diameter of the earth, are you awake? We're going to run fast quickly, and if you don't get all of this, it's all illustrated in 3D animation in the video series called The Model at the back at the Creation Evidence Museum table. Much of what I'm going to give you on the human brain is in the book, Why Do Men Believe Evolution Against All Odds? But let me give you a composite if you can run fast. Prior to the flood of Noah's day and prior to the Peleg episode, in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided. It expanded. All geophysicists admit that the earth has expanded in diameter. Prior to the flood and prior to the Peleg episode, the diameter of the earth was slightly smaller. We have some consultants at the Creation Evidence Museum who are atmospheric scientists and engineers who have run calculations for me to show that if you diminish the size of the globe some 10 to 12%, something wonderful happens. You maintain the same mass, but you shrink the volume. It's smaller, weighs more per cubic centimeter, which gives you a greater gravitational attraction at sea level, which essentially doubles the atmospheric pressure. Did you get that? Prior to the flood and prior to the Peleg episode, we had about twice our current atmospheric pressure. 16 times at Texas A&M University, I've been under 2 atmospheres of pressure. What does it feel like? It feels like you belong there. Is it harder or easier to breathe in 2 atmospheres of pressure? Much easier to breathe. Once you equalize the lungs, and if a child were born in that, it would be equalized automatically. Once you equalize the lungs, etc., and the ears, the eustachian tubes, etc., you feel like you belong, and you never have to reach for a breath of air. It's automatically there. It's a wonderful world at 2 atmospheres of pressure. My wife is a universal reactor. She was at the point, I had had her at that point to 17 specialists. They'd given up on her and said, you'll lose your wife. So I said, well, I'm doing some research on a hyperbaric pre-flood context, and let's make arrangements to get her into a hyperbaric oxygen therapy context. So we took her to Texas A&M, put her under 2 atmospheres of pressure with enriched oxygen, and she's now living. She's praying for me, I think, at this moment. If not, she's watching television. No, she doesn't watch a lot of television. I think she's praying for me. That's what she tells me she's doing, and I'm sure she is. But in the world before the flood, we had approximately twice our current atmospheric pressure. Why could my own wife have such response under 2 atmospheres of pressure with enriched oxygen? Because at Texas A&M they found that if you double the atmospheric pressure, you triple the assimilation of available oxygen. Did you get that? If you double the atmospheric pressure, the hemoglobin can't pick up anymore. It's saturated with 4 oxygen molecules. So it doesn't do any good to have the old oxygen tent. Instead, what happens is, under 2 atmospheres of pressure, or as you approach 2 atmospheres of pressure, the entire hemoglobin, the entire blood plasma becomes saturated with oxygen. Kids, that solves the problem of the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs had small lung capacities. I've discovered and directed the excavation of 14 different dinosaurs. They all had small lung capacities, either from our direct examination or by inference of the bone structure. Small lung capacities. If you were to put one on Highway 10 running near here, he couldn't get out of the way of the semis. In today's atmosphere, he couldn't get enough oxygen, get enough blood, oxygen in the blood for appropriate metabolism. But in the world before the flood, the dinosaurs could have a field day. So my wife, one day, I was telling the group at breakfast this morning, one day we went in, my wife was wheeled in the wheelchair, and Dr. Fife, just before going into 2 atmospheres of pressure with enriched oxygen, Dr. Fife looked down and he said, "What's that on your foot?" My wife said, "Oh, I dropped some hot water on it yesterday. It'll be all right." He said, "That's oozing." He said, "That's an open wound." She said, "I know it, but it'll be all right." He said, "We'll take care of it." Now, I wanted to see that. I asked an individual who was sitting with me at breakfast today who asked a question about that. He has some medical background, and I said, "Do we have a medical doctor here? I need your help." The audience needs your help if I keep talking too long. Do we have a nurse? Anyone with medical? Okay, excellent. How long does it take for an open wound to heal? Okay, with a child, young, metabolism working better, about a week. For an adult, 2 or 3 weeks, that's right, depending on the health of the individual. And my wife's health was compromised. So let's say 10 days. 10 days would be a good norm for a very healthy person. But here's my wife with compromised health. And Dr. Fife said, we'll take care of it. We wheeled her into the hyperbaric chamber, closed the door, pumped it up to 2 atmospheres of pressure. He used a system where he put a helmet and a plastic apron so he could give her alone the oxygen. I wasn't getting oxygen because I wasn't paying for it. Gave her the oxygen, 100% oxygen. Now, you can't live under 100% oxygen except for short duration. You have to use it up, otherwise you'll build oxygen toxicity. So, ran the oxygen to her head, and so she leaned back, and she had that treatment 22 times, and it saved her life. Then, he ran another oxygen line past her ankle because there was that open wound. How long should it take for it to heal? At least 2 weeks for an adult. Wow. So he ran that tube past her ankle, performed a very sophisticated medical procedure. He took a plastic bag, engulfed her foot and ankle, crimped it, took duct tape and wrapped it up. Yeah, that's what you do in surgery. Sat back, and he and I talked about the research and what was going on with our hyperbaric biospheric research and so forth. About 45 minutes later. How long? 45 minutes. My wife said, I think I've had enough oxygen today. You see, when you saturate the deep cell tissue, you get detoxification and it becomes a little uncomfortable. So she said, I think I've had enough oxygen for today. And he said, great. He reached up, turned off the feeder to the tubes, took the helmet off her head, and then I wanted to see. He knelt down, unraveled the duct tape, took off the plastic bag, and that open, oozing wound was healed in 45 minutes. Now, in the pre-flood world, no wonder people lived so long. That's one of the parameters. But I want to illustrate this, and I've got just enough time to do it. We have a living illustration here today. On the creation of the 21st century, I talked about the additional atmospheric pressure. I talked about the canopy above the earth. You need the tapes back there to get all of this. And I talked about the stronger electromagnetic field. That's vitally important. We're losing Earth's electromagnetic field. Twice I've lectured at NASA. They put me in direct communication. Now, they didn't want the creation model at NASA. I don't know why. They're the world's leading atheistic academic institution. And so they didn't want the creation model, but they did want the science regarding Earth's original ecosphere, and I do hold some patents on that. So they invited me twice to speak, and I'm very thankful for that. All I had to do at the end, if I'd wanted to, is say, you'll find everything I'm saying in Genesis chapter, and just turn over. But I had to justify it scientifically. And by the way, I think we should be able to give an answer to every man that asketh us a reason for the hope that is within us with meekness and fear. I think we should do good science. I think we should have qualified answers that meet scientific scrutiny. And all God's people said, amen. And those answers are available. Back to this. So, Dr. Okuna is the world's leading expert on Earth's magnetic field. So he and I had a lengthy discourse together, and he admitted readily, we're losing this field. In the tapes at the back and in the book, I show that we have documentation as to the strength of the field some centuries ago and how we've lost it today. And that's part of the reason we know the Earth system is young, only part of the reason. But prior to the flood, we had approximately 5 Gauss of DC energy, not AC. AC will kill you. Too much DC will kill you. DC pulsed energy. We're able to monitor the field. It is now down to 0.5 Gauss. It's only 1/10 of what it was. We've been doing some research on snake venom, and we found that when you put viperous creatures, poisonous, toxic creatures, under 2 atmospheres of pressure with stronger electromagnetic energy, with the right oxygen ratio, the right carbon dioxide ratio, and other factors, all given in the video series at the back and some in the book. When you put all this together, in just 4 weeks, we completely altered the structure of snake venom. That's never been done before. Now, Dr. Quazzo, are you here? Yes. I think you'll appreciate this. We took the venom, we milked the snakes. We milked the snakes? Well, I delegate certain responsibilities. I had Dr. Robert Popplewell, a licensed herpetologist, milk the snakes. We documented every step, took them to an independent lab, and they analyzed them. Watch closely. Are you still awake? Have you ever seen snake venom under scanning electron microscopic analysis? It looks like gnarled spaghetti. That's because of the sulfide bonds, and that's the basic toxicity parameter, the sulfide bonds, and it crimps them all over the place. But in just 4 weeks, in just having them in a pre-flood context, we orchestrated them completely so that they were stronger and orchestrated. Theoretically, we've neutralized the venom, we've strengthened it. By the way, snake venom is the most complicated protein structure in biological nature. There are entities, there are research groups using snake venom to cure cancer, but they only know to strain the snake venom. But we in creation scientific research, and I, the patent holder, have the technology on actually altering the structure of the snake venom. But here's what I wanted Dr. Quazzo to know. They call me back to the lab. They run some more experiments, and they ran electrophoresis where you have a printout of the protein expression. And they called me to the lab, and they said, this has never been done before. You've done something that, let us co-publish with you on this. And so probably that's going to happen. They showed me the ambient protein expression in the electrophoresis column, protein expression, and they said, this is from your ambient group, and the very same snakes were in the biosphere. Here's the biospheric group. Watch. This explains a lot of evolutionary interpretation, variation, which is really there by creation to begin with. Remember the perspective of the kids? They didn't quite get it right. Watch. He showed the second column. He said, look, just by having the same species in the biosphere simulating whatever parameters you had, you have enhanced this protein structure, you have diminished this protein structure, you have eliminated this protein structure, and you've expressed protein structure that's not even in the original ambient expression. Did you get that? That means that designed within the genetic potential of the creature is adaptability under varying ecological conditions. And Dr. Quazzo, it'll be interesting to talk to you about that and the scientific interpretation of that. Now, I've got 3 minutes to give an illustration for you. We had these snakes and fruit flies in the second generation. We tripled the adult lifespan of fruit flies in the second generation. Harvard's never done that without genetic manipulation or selective breeding. We just used common Drosophila melanogaster field stock. And in the second generation, we tripled their adult lifespan. Did you get that? That's the equivalent of your living to be 200 years of age, even with your damaged DNA. So, this is good scientific research. But let me conclude with this. One of the things we found in working with these vipers was that you completely alter the structure of the venom if you alter the context, and especially if you alter the electromagnetic parameter and give them pulsed electromagnetic energy. So, what we have found, now this is not the introduction of new evolutionary development. The variation is all within the genetics that God put there to begin with. One life form does not become another life form. There are boundaries. Okay, watch closely. Since we knew that pulsed electromagnetic energy at the right level would alter things, one of our researchers, a medical researcher, we do not perform medical experiments. I'm not licensed to do so. I'm not qualified to do so. So I get the practitioners to do that. We began to run experiments with what would happen if you used a stun gun with a low voltage stun gun and applied that under crisis conditions. And we found that, and this was verified at Oklahoma State University in the medical department, no matter what, rattlesnake, you have a lot of rattlesnakes here in Florida, copperheads, right? This might save your life, and I've got 26 seconds. I need Jesse to come up here. Jesse Butler, last week, was bitten by a brown recluse spider. Right, Jesse? Mm-hmm. Didn't hurt at first, but after a while, there's a bullseye that builds up and necrosis, that is, actual corruption and decay of the flesh. After a while, did it hurt?
No, sir.
Didn't hurt you, huh? You were not going to cry under any circumstances, right? But I understand that it started eating a hole in your hand. Let me see your hand. There's no hole there now. What'd your daddy do? He saw a television program that I had a medical doctor on. He got a stun gun and applied that. And it was hurting, I understand, but once he applied the stun gun, and the stun gun hurt a little bit, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you cry? No. Hey, good deal. Then, in a matter of seconds, it stopped hurting and began healing because the venom was neutralized. Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Let's give this young man a hand. We're right on schedule. The entire point is the creation model works. Do not go out and hook electrical wires to yourself or anybody else. Under crisis conditions, I've led 3 scientific expeditions in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. We have snakes there, the 2-step snakes, 20 minutes you're dead. Scorpions whose sting can kill you in 8 minutes. Spiders whose bite can kill you in 3 minutes. No fear. Why not? Because we had stun guns with us and we applied them immediately when there was a problem. Neutralize the toxicity, the venom, and living proof, the creation model works. Thank you.